Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday night, July the 28th. Hope everybody has had an enjoyable weekend. We were working on the weekend like usual. Someone wise once said we were covering Nissan Stadium open training camp practices, of which many of you guys did attend. Always good to see you out there. It was fun to catch up with a lot of people who I know listen to the radio show or watch the primetime show or hang out with Greg and I on the install. Always great to put names to faces the way that we get to when we get back together like that. But this was your first look at Will Levis if you got the opportunity to attend this training camp practice. And so that is exactly what we are going to discuss tonight. He did captivate fans. It wasn't the best practice for Will Levis, but it was good enough to show you enough things to make you feel optimistic, to get your confidence up about where this thing is trending writ large. We'll ask you, if you did attend the Nissan Stadium practice, what your least favorite parts of that experience were, and wrap things up with a little bit of Sunday Funday at the end of the show. Need you guys to share the broadcast around before we get started, wherever it is that you are live streaming with us tonight. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You can do it right there. If you're on Facebook Live, like Corey D. Jackson and so many other of our Facebook friends, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. YouTube and Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate your participation that way while we talk about the way that Will Levis captivated Titans fans in their exclusive first look at him at the Nissan Stadium practice yesterday. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the fine people at Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service is what they offer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN that you see right there and get up to $100 on your no danger first wager in the Zen Sports app. You know that TrueMath Fitness will get you the best workout in Middle Tennessee and your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident at TrueMathFitness.com for more information. All right, Nissan Stadium practice in the books. The first week of training camp practices in the books. Stadium updates, says Eric Garst. No, I wasn't planning on doing construction talk tonight, though we did get a glimpse of that. We have gotten progressive glimpses of that as the new Nissan Stadium continues to be built. But while the new Nissan Stadium continues to be built, the Titans continue to play football in the old Nissan Stadium, which is where they held an open practice, the first fully open practice, I think, of its kind since like 2018 or 2019. I think it's been since pre-COVID since we did one of those stadium practices that way, unless my memory is failing me. And of all the different things that I observed out there that day, I was asked while we were walking off the practice field, what's the top line? What's the headline coming out of the stadium practice? And I had to think about it for a while because a part of me wanted to say, well, that red zone offense, or rather that third down period for the first team offense, was not their best, but that's probably not the lead here. And the more that I thought about it, the more that I came away thinking, you know what? The atmosphere was pretty kick-ass. It wasn't packed by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't like the entire lower bowl was full. With everything happening around downtown Nashville, right? You had the Bitcoin convention. You had former President Donald Trump speaking at the convention. You have, of course, the situation with him where the assassination attempt was made on his life. So, of course, security and as a result, traffic is going to be nightmarish around him. So given all that was going on, the Hootie and the Blowfish concert at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, it was a jam-packed weekend in Nashville. And for those who did come out, I thought the atmosphere was pretty excellent. That was probably my top line takeaway. And then when we talked about Will and the way that he kind of managed the situation, for the most part, it was a successful day. Again, not his best day, excuse me, not his best day of practice, but they did get a lot of 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 work in. Really sharp early on was Will Levis. He was 4 of 4 in the first 4 passes that he threw in 7-on-7. He completed 6 of 7 in that period. He finished 11 of 17 in 7-on-7 and team periods combined. Jimmy Wyatt tracked him at 33 of 47 in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 combined so far at this point in camp. He also did throw an interception for the first time in camp to cornerback Trey Avery. It was a poorly thrown, underthrown ball in the direction of Calvin Ridley, and he did make some nice plays like a 35-yard bomb to Tony Pollard, who was able to haul it in down the sideline, really made a really nice play on the football. And then the third down situations was more for the defense. Thought Malik Willis, side note, had a nice day, and Mason Rudolph continues to hold serve in the backup quarterback competition. Sounds concerning if the headline is the crowd, says Caleb Meadows. Not necessarily. I wouldn't say that, because Sweat and Jeff were active up front. They don't have pads on, of course, so it's tough to really get a gauge of how well they're able to, fit up in their run blocking assignments or how well they're filling the gap defensively and things like that, again, without pads on. But I wouldn't say that it's a concern overwhelmingly, Caleb, because it's the first time that we've done something like that in quite some time. And secondarily, it is a different atmosphere. It's a different environment for the players. For Brian Callahan, it was his first opportunity to walk out of the tunnel and be greeted by Titans fans en masse. So I don't think that the headline was that they were at the stadium and that there were a lot of firsts associated with the stadium beyond what they were able to do on the practice field. Because the practice field, we've been watching them. This is now their 4th practice. Three of them have been open. The next time we'll be out there with them will be on Tuesday. And so that was the most difference, or the biggest difference, in what they were doing from the practice fields at Ascension St. Thomas to how they responded to crowd, atmosphere, locker room, parking, Callahan being introduced, all those things. So on the whole, I understand what you're saying there, but not like the end of the world. There were plenty of football observations to be made as well. But I think that there is a lot to like about the progress that they continue to make, even as they struggled in third down situations on Sunday, or rather Saturday, because if you liked what you saw from the defensive front, that was pretty promising. The offensive line continues to be a work in progress. And once again, as they get their pads on and as Sweat and Jeff get to wear pads and the rest of them, you'll see probably a better measure of how they compete against one another. But there's no question that Sweat and Jeff were wreaking havoc on the inside against that interior offensive line. That is solid. I won't call them outright great, but they're solid, I would say. David Lee says, most talented Titans team since 1999-2000? Ooh, I don't know about that. That sounds like, shit. The 2020 team, yeah, I would argue the 2020 team or even the 2019 team was more like top-end talented than this team is, even though there are some nice talents that they've added. I think you might have missed the mark on that particular observation, David. And the idea also that, there was some talent on those early Titans teams, but that they weren't the overwhelmingly most talented, right? McNair was a talent, but he was also a gutty, gritty type of quarterback that would eke these wins out and put his body on the line week after week after week. Eddie George was not Derrick Henry as a running back, but Eddie was a huge part of what they did. The efficiency wasn't there, but the effectiveness was. So I think that is a pretty, it's an interesting conversation, but I don't think that's an accurate assessment. Christian says, the way you guys described it on X misled a lot of people to believe it was an absolute duck. It kind of was, but Ridley had a chance at it if he slowed down a tad. Well, no, it's not I didn't describe it as a duck. I described it as an underthrown pass, an underthrown deep ball in the direction of Calvin Ridley. In fact, I don't even think I put out a tweet about that specifically, other than to indicate that Levis threw out his first interception of the week. But Calvin Ridley's job is not to slow down. And you would like the player to make a play on the ball, but the ball was underthrown and the receiver is supposed to be hit in stride. So it was a poorly thrown pass I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a duck, but it wasn't for somebody with that kind of arm strength. You don't expect him to see, or you don't expect him to throw a lot of underthrown passes. And this one definitely did not have enough zip on it. So, with all the things that we took away, what was your primary observation, or what have you learned most through the first week of camp? In the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Please feel free to jump in and react how you feel about this particular Titans team and what you feel like you have learned most out of these first couple of practices. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it is brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service is what they offer you. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. They always put you in the driver's seat as the customer to make it fast, easy, and fun. tworiversford.com for more information. All right, so what has been the thing that you've learned most through the first week of camp? 3 practices open to the media, 4 practices in total, one that was closed on Friday. Let's see. Trade for Dak Prescott already, says Eric Alonzo. Okay, apparently he's out on the Will Levis experiment after 1 week of training camp practice, he says. Corey D. Jackson says, I learned those 2 backs coming out of the backfield is going to be a major mismatch. Good luck, linebackers. Well, that is also something that, Tony Pollard is a solid receiver, but that I didn't know Tony had it in his bag like that, like the catch he made on the sideline on that 35-yard completion from Levis, who really put it in a nice spot for Pollard to be able to make a play there. Brandon says the defense will not disappoint, but the offense has a ways to go, but it's only week 1. Well, see, the defense is what I'm way more skeptical of. Way more skeptical of the defense, Brandon, right now than I am of the offense. The offense feels like it should be in relatively good hands. The defense has so many questions all over the place. Caleb Meadows says Bill Callahan has his work cut out for him. Well, we knew that from the jump. William Jones says, I've been hearing Malik has been looking good. He did look good yesterday. Truly, he did look good yesterday. And I think credit where credit is due. He is somebody who did make improvements from his rookie training camp to his second-year training camp. And it is entirely feasible that a player that talented should be able to make strides from his second training camp to his third training camp, especially with a coaching staff more fluent in the art of quarterback coaching, right? Somebody who has played the position, somebody who understands the position. I think that is going to be beneficial for all 3 of them, including Malik Willis. So credit to him for putting on a nice show in front of the fans. But just one day, he has to stack them. Richie says, hasn't Malik always looked good in training camp preseason? No, that is not accurate. Preseason games have been a struggle for Malik Willis. That is something that is going to, we'll see how he does in preseason this year. But to date, preseason he has not covered himself in glory in preseason action. William Morris says, what's up with Malik? I like him more than Mason. Well, I wouldn't go that far. Malik is still definitively 3rd on this quarterback depth chart, and I would expect that to hold serve unless, the unthinkable happens and Malik Willis turns into a functioning starting level caliber quarterback, replacement level starting NFL quarterback. But I don't know that is necessarily in the future. 1 week through training camp, we'll see how this continues to develop. Christian says, I believe in Big Sweat. Well, he certainly was active and has now, 4 for 4 on his training camp practices. So all the hand wringing in the offseason so far has been for naught. Let us get to the thing that I took away the most, or the thing that I've learned the most in the first couple of practices through the first week of training camp, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789, must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. The biggest thing that I've learned so far is that Will Levis has QB1 aura. QB1 aura emanates off him. QB1 aura permeates everything that he does. Now, does aura translate into wins or losses? No, not necessarily, but damned if this dude isn't owning the opportunities that he's getting. And certainly it was cool to see the way that fans reacted to him as he walked out of the tunnel in front of me. And these videos that you'll see are from my vantage point at Nissan Stadium at the open training camp practice.
Yeah, trendsetter, whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center, hit it dead center. Bullseye, hit it the most, is no misses. Something like fish in a barrel, it's no different. Blindfold on me, I still got the most vision. Trendsetter told them before, but they don't listen. Better, bring a better bad because I'm bigger, better. Solo, single, selling several shows at every single second. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Kinda came and crushed the competition, hope they get the message. Look, giving it fast.
So that is about 30 seconds of Will Levis walking out of the tunnel, getting some work in, getting some throws in at training camp practices. He was out there signing autographs. I believe Austin Stanley timed him at 44 minutes out there with fans afterwards signing autographs. Nav 454 says he looks like discount Joe Burrow. Well, shit, wouldn't you take discount Joe Burrow in a heartbeat and run based on the level of quarterback play that you've experienced? Joe Burrow's arguably the second best quarterback in the league. If you got discount Joe Burrow, buddy, you better thank your lucky stars. Discount Joe Burrow would at least give you what, a top 10 to 15 quarterback? You haven't had that. You haven't had top 10 to 15 quarterback play since Ryan Tannehill's 2020 season. So I would tell you outright that discount Joe Burrow, there's nothing wrong with that. I think you meant it as an insult, but if I was you and having dealt with your history of quarterback play, I would probably be thirsty as hell for discount Joe Burrow. And in fact, he looks better than Joe Burrow right now because Joe Burrow shaved all his head off and went full Slim Shady on us with the dyed neon blonde buzz cut. Anyway, so Richie Seagraves says, Buck, what do I think about Latham? I think he's gonna struggle out of the gate. I think he's gonna be like any rookie offensive lineman in the league. I think he's super talented. And I love that Bill Callahan is the person who he is entering into the NFL under, but I definitely think that he's going to struggle. For no other reason than all rookie offensive linemen struggle. And that will be the expectation that I have for him as he kind of gets his feet wet in real live NFL reps when they open up against the Chicago Bears on Sunday, September the 8th is that game. As a matter of fact, we're not that far away. All right, Nissan Stadium. For those of you who attended the live in-person Nissan Stadium practice, what was your experience like? What did you like? What did you not like based on what you saw? It can be football. It can be parking. It can be there's a big old mound of dirt out there in the parking lot that I want to climb. Let me know if you attended the open practice at Nissan Stadium yesterday, what your feedback was. While you do so, I will remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the wonderful people at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident at TrueMathFitness.com. No workout ever recycled or repeated. They always go above and beyond to put you in position to succeed, to maximize your fitness goals. That is what TrueMath Fitness offers you. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for more information and get the best workout in Middle Tennessee. Like I said, TrueMathFitness.com. All right, what was your feedback at the Nissan Stadium practice yesterday? For me, I was curious to see where they were going to put people, and I still don't know where they put all 10,000 people that showed up. I know that our parking lot was open and available, so I had a pretty normal experience. I know that traffic was particularly difficult, but that wasn't their problem. That was because of the Bitcoin convention that featured former President Donald Trump speaking at it, which I know there were a ton of people in attendance at over the weekend. The on-field product itself, I thought the atmosphere was good. I thought they kept fans engaged. I really liked that they had Coach Mack and Mike Keith narrating the practice for you guys, interviewing players as they went along. DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Levis, Simmons, they all talked at various points to the Titans fans who were in attendance. But I'm curious to know what your guys' feedback was after attending that Nissan Stadium practice. Christian said, I got 2 tickets, but didn't want to go because of a family emergency. Sorry if you wanted to go. That's okay. I understand. When people have family emergencies, you have to make sure that you get that taken care of. Tom Miller says keep 3 QBs. That was his biggest takeaway from Nissan Stadium practice yesterday. Malik was on fire. It surprised him. I don't know necessarily that I wouldn't rule that out. 3 quarterbacks on the roster. If Malik makes good enough progress and you think that he may not be able to slip through on waivers and get to your practice squad, I would totally keep Malik Willis on the active roster. Now you got to get cute with the math elsewhere because you have a lot of different positions that you're working with. But at this point, you like the trajectory, at least, of Willis in an offense or under a coaching staff that more understands the refinement required to operate at the highest levels of quarterback play. Curator says he was there and asking about, or Lamar asks or says, right side of the offensive line is still sus. Yeah, it's going to continue to be sus. You got an undrafted rookie free agent starting at right tackle in OJ, John Ojukwu, and you have we'll call him I don't know if he's outright a journeyman because I believe he's only been in one spot with the Washington Commanders in Sadiq Charles. But Sadiq Charles has never really been able to establish himself as a high-level NFL starter. So I would say that, yeah, you're right. Your right side of you can't fix everything. You're still going to have some problems. The right side of your offensive line is a problem with Charles, with OJ. We'll see what happens when NPF becomes available to see if that doesn't make any kind of a difference. I think that on the whole, the offensive line situation is going to be one of the most fascinating competitions of camp because Bill Callahan is going to be overseeing all of it. And you think you have a lot of different pieces and parts that you might be able to work with. So that is about 30 seconds of offensive line work from Saturday's stadium practice. Let's see. Lewis says the crowd was extremely small at Nissan Stadium. Yeah, if 10,000 people were in there, I'd probably think it was a little lighter than 10,000 in a almost 70,000 seat stadium. They probably had, I'd say, half of the lower bowl, maybe 2/3 of the lower bowl filled at any given point. So not the biggest crowd, but again, like I said, I didn't expect to see 30,000, 40,000 people out there. In fact, they only had, I think, 16,000 tickets in total available for people to claim. Vanessa says of the right tackle situation, then why did we waste a first pick trying to fix right tackle? Well, you didn't. Or are you talking about Isaiah Wilson? Because that was 4 years ago that you drafted Isaiah Wilson. You did draft a right tackle. Well, you did draft a tackle 7th overall, but he's not a right tackle. He's a left tackle. That's where he's starting. So it's not that you wasted a first pick trying to fix right tackle. You spent a first-round pick on a guy that had played right tackle, planning to move him to left, and that's where he's been the entirety of camp. So I wouldn't, whether he turns out to be a waste or not remains to be seen. But right now it's too early to tell, and I think that there should be some level of understanding that a rookie offensive lineman thrust into a spot like this is going to have ups. He's going to have downs. Probably going to have more downs than he does ups, but that's okay. That's what rookie seasons are for. Christian says, I thought OJ and Sadiq Charles look solid from the clips I saw. I would push back against that. I think they are still sus based on what you are working with at this point. Thomas said, we don't have anybody that can pull huge crowds. If we have a good season, then maybe next year will be better attendance. I would be surprised if next year is better attendance because the parking situation is always going to be an issue. Or at least in the next 3 years is going to be an issue. But they're finding different ways to navigate that. Yeah, as long as they're playing in the old or doing shit in the old Nissan Stadium, I'm just going to assume that the crowds are going to be poor. How good or how bad they are, I'm sure it will impact things to an extent. Like, would you be able to get, if you got let's call it 8,000 conservatively. If you got 8,000 people to show up when you're 6-11 last year, can you get 10,000 to show up if you make a wild card berth this year? Probably, maybe. But I do think there are still some logistical issues that they're just always going to, bog people down when they look around and say, do I really want to go schlep out to watch a football practice, not a game, at Nissan Stadium, go through all the hurdles that it takes to get into the stadium, and then, all to watch clips that I could have seen on social media without sweating and paying money for concessions and all kinds of other stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with people that went out there and do it. That's, those are the most passionate among you for sure that show up for an open training camp practice at Nissan Stadium. But there are a lot of hurdles that you have to overcome to be able to do it. Sound like it was pretty smooth though. I didn't hear anybody outright complaining about logistics who wanted to go. Sound like it was pretty turnkey based on, not an overwhelming amount of people that wanted to go, but still, baby steps as they work their way through all the parking, all the traffic problems that the new Nissan Stadium is going to cause. I think, we'll see how it goes. All right. I'm concerned for our tailgating experience this year, says Chosen. Well, there is no tailgating at the stadium for the next 3 years, and that is the team's decision. All right. Sunday Funday. What was the most fun thing that you saw this weekend? Could have been the Nissan Stadium Open Training Camp practice. Could have been something from the Olympics. Whatever your fancy, you let me know. I'll tell you in the meantime that the Primetime program is presented by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found at GaryAshton.com. Best thing that I saw was the Olympics. The Olympics have been a great success. I wouldn't say that I've watched a ton of it in depth. I caught the replay of the basketball game today as opposed to watching the basketball live. I know that we also medaled or also won the gold in the 100-meter swimming event, which was excellent. I know the gymnastics team watched a fair amount of the gymnastics today. Looks like they were in pole position to succeed. A lot of fun just to have the Olympics on during the summer. The opening ceremonies looked excellent with Celine Dion closing it out. It was a high level production. It's probably the best thing that I saw this weekend. Let's see. USA men's and women's swim team winning, says Van Jeffrey. That was his best thing that he saw. Randy Howard says sweat crashing Latham's interview. I didn't see that, but I did see it off to the side in my peripheral. KD was in Hall of Fame mode today. Yeah, didn't miss a shot from the floor. Absolutely. Corey says he saw me in my Hattie B's jersey. I moved expeditiously to my closest location right after. Yeah, listen, that's my sugar mama, Hattie B's. You know that. So anytime we can give Hattie B a little extra love, we will do that. I went to their Charlotte Avenue location afterwards for a hot fish fry for their 10th anniversary. It was killer. And also Donald Page, the Titans team photographer. Let me see if I can throw this up on the screen quickly. He snapped this really good shot that I think is going to keep Hattie B's in my life until the end of time because of how good this picture was of myself keeping tabs on Brian Callahan as he entered the stadium for the first time. I took a video of it where he's talking to me on the camera, but this is the vantage point from the team photographer, Donald Page, tracking Brian Callahan, or tracking Brian Callahan as we both walked out of the tunnel at Nissan Stadium together. So that was cool to see. It was a great time. A lot of fun at Nissan Stadium. It's just good to see you guys. Good to be out there. Good to kind of get the juices flowing somewhat, to make it feel real. Training camp practices obviously make it feel real, but, just as we ramp up preseason, regular season right around the corner, travel, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys out on the road and at home games. Just good vibes all around on Saturday at Nissan Stadium. Absolutely. Randy says that smile is more about the hot chicken than it was about Coach Callie. I would agree with that. No better hot chicken than Hattie B's. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight on the Primetime program. Radio show tomorrow. Diana Rossini, NFL insider for The Athletic. She will join the show. She just did a 30-minute conversation with Ryan Tannehill. Asked him about Mike Vrabel. Asked him about Will Levis. We'll get her thoughts on where Ryan Tannehill is at, along with all the other news and notes from the league that she's been gathering come training camp time. Chosen says that I was also signing autographs. You better not leave us. You are clearly loved here. Yeah, so Austin asked me how many I signed on Saturday, and I bet it was under 20. I don't think I signed more than 20 flags or helmets or hats or things like that. And I had to tell people every time that they asked me, listen, I'm not anybody of value. You're not going to be able to sell my signature for any kind of money. I really think that me putting my name next to DeAndre Hopkins or Mike Keith's signature or something like that is going to make your stuff less valuable. But people were very kind and played along with the bid anyway. And always good to see you guys. And as much for as hard a time as we give each other, there's a lot of love there. It's family. That's what this is. That's what it's been for the last 9 years of me living in Middle Tennessee. I'm not native, but I'm local, and I love the shit out of you guys, the way that you support everything, and always puts a smile on my face to see you out in the wild. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Radio show, like I said, 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning when the fun really begins.
Go home! Go home! Go home!